Come on now, when you saw that final scene of the episode when Izuku walked up, looked at Bakugo, Bakugo looked at him, he had a frown on, but then it said their match started, and you see All Might just standing in front of the doorway, let's be real here. You got incredibly hyped, because I know for a fact, even as a manga reader, that made me smile. I'm like, this is going to be epic, because the number one hero is going up against Bakugo and Izuku, and when you think about this, we know for a fact that Izuku looks up to All Might and is directly connected to All Might thanks to his quirk. Bakugo also looks up to All Might, and so when you look at these two things, it's obvious that it's going to be really interesting, this upcoming match between All Might versus Izuku and Bakugo, and you gotta wonder how Bakugo is going to work with Izuku in the first place, since they've never really been on solid ground. They've always had shaky footing when it comes to the relationship, so it really makes you wonder what's possibly going to happen in this upcoming match with Bakugo, Izuku versus All Might. But before that, though, so I guess to start off, let's talk about Ochako, Naval Boy, and the interaction, like their conversation about Izuku. So, something was brought up at the end of last week's episode, and I'm thankful that once again it was brought up in this episode, and it was like the starting point of the episode, and it kind of opens the door for new possibilities of whatever can happen with Ochako and Izuku. So, the main topic of discussion is that Naval Boy, he's like, so you're thinking of Izuku, aren't you, right now? Like, what would he do in this moment? And he's like, do you love him and all that? And then all of a sudden, Ochako, she got really embarrassed, grabbed her cheek, she fell back, and thankfully in that moment she was able to win and actually take control of the situation, but it was by accident because of what Naval Boy did to her. She just got really embarrassed, she let go and all that, and events happened and everything managed to be completely fine. I mean, in normal circumstances, what Ochako did was very dangerous, because the villain, you know, if the villain could suck you into like a black hole and all that, they're not going to just shut it off because, oh, you're about to get sucked into it, because the only reason why the teacher shut off, you know, the quirk was because it was a very dangerous quirk. It's one of the most deadly quirks that you could really imagine, the ability to use a black hole. And so because of that, it's obvious that Ochako was not really in any major danger, so because of that, the teacher lost just because the teacher actually is a hero. If that was a villain, Ochako probably would have died in that moment, so that was a really risky thing, and that's probably definitely going to be deducted off of her overall score just because of the way that was done, because it's obvious that was not planned whatsoever. Regardless, though, the conversation leads into something that many are going to be discussing, and it's probably going to be one of the most talked about scenes throughout the episode besides the Mineta stuff. Ochako has been confronted about her feelings with Izuku, which is very shocking, because when you think of a shonen series, shonen usually don't like to confront romance very early, unless it's a romance shonen, like if it's focused on romance. But if it's a series that's like action-based or adventure-based, kind of like, you know, how Boku no Hero Academia is, usually romance is like saved for the final stretch of the series, like when the series is finally wrapping up after many years of its run through the magazine or whatever, or through anime. Usually after many years, then once the series is about to wrap up, that's when the writer usually likes to handle the, you know, the little romance threads between all the characters. And as you can see here, this is probably very shocking for many. I remember when I read this in the manga, I was just absolutely shocked. I'm like, whoa, Horikoshi is actually tackling romance this early on in a series that's actually based on becoming a hero in action and stuff. It's just very unshonen-like, especially for this type of series, and it makes me very happy, because normally when you read a series, you don't really focus on ships, and you shouldn't. You shouldn't focus on ships, you shouldn't really focus on romance on these type of series, and let it dictate if you like the series or not when the series reaches its conclusion. And that's what usually many of the, you know, the community actually talks about constantly. When the series reaches a conclusion, they're always worried about them ships. And I do like how Horikoshi is kind of already starting to establish proper romance build-up with the characters so early on. This does not mean that Izuku will end up with Ochako. I just quickly want to state that. Just because she has probably found out that she does have feelings for him doesn't automatically mean that she is going to end up with him. Now, just to do a brief FYI, I think I made it very clear in the past, but just in case anime onlys don't know, I am an Ochako fanboy. I actually do like the Ochako and Izuku pairing. However, like I said, I'm one of those type of people that don't really care if I don't get the ship I want. I don't care about that. That won't dictate if I like the series or not. And so if Ochako doesn't, you know, get with Izuku, that's fine by me. However, it's really good stuff to see, especially since Ochako, she is now at the very least starting to get this romance build-up. She's starting to understand that she probably has feelings for Izuku because she got very embarrassed at how she constantly constantly thinks of him, and it feels very organic. It doesn't feel like forced romance, because normally in a shonen, when you get towards the end, like I said, the ships are just thrown together real quick. I mean, you knew that they were probably going to end up together or something, but the ships are just thrown together, and there wasn't really much setup for it, and that's kind of what's going on here. You have it to where, Horikoshi is actually putting organic romance in his shonen. He's putting that build-up for the romance for the future of the series. So if he wants to go with it and do something with it, he can, and it makes sense. It doesn't feel like it just came out of nowhere. So that is something to really compliment when it comes to the writing of this episode, or this part of the series when it came to the manga. So anyways, though, Ochako, they won their overall little event, and it's very dangerous, and they only won thanks to it being a teacher. If it was a villain, they wouldn't have won. Ochako probably would have gotten seriously injured, but regardless, though, they passed, and it also brought up some certain things when it came to Ochako's feelings for Izuku. We also have a scene with Invisible Girl as well in this episode, which the scene is probably the shortest out of all the other students throughout the episode, so there's not really much to talk about. However, I do want to point out that even though they won, I want to point out that Invisible Girl, once again, she's doing very, very questionable things throughout the episode. I mean, she only had her gloves and shoes on, which proves that she is not wearing anything. So just Invisible Girl being Invisible Girl and doing some very lewd things. I just wanted to point that out. If you did not see that scene, go back and watch it throughout the episode, because she has gloves and shoes on, but nothing else. So yeah, and, oh yeah, even the sensei accidentally touches her, so it's like, oh my god, like, this, it's messed up. It's really messed up, but yeah. So the next scene to talk about is the Mina and Kaminari versus the principal scene. Now, this is probably one of the most shocking moments from the episode. And not because of Mina and Kaminari working together or whatever. It was thanks to the principal's personality. This is probably something that came totally left field. I guess this is right on the screen, so left field for all of you. It came out completely left field when I read this in the manga, and it came out left field most likely for a lot of the anime onlys from this episode, because the principal having a personality like that was probably something that nobody really saw coming unless you've already read the manga, and it was just really shocking. I mean, usually when you think of a principal and all that, usually they are very wise and very intelligent. They can joke around a bit, but overall, they don't have that type of, personality, especially from what we've seen so far. He seemed like a very smart individual that seemed to have, everything in order, and he didn't have, these crazy emotions to where he gets really excited or whatever. You'd think that everything would be normal, but that was not necessarily the case. Mina and Kaminari, they probably went up against the worst possible opponent that they could ever face. And the big thing is how they entered into the match in the first place, and how they underestimated their opponent. So let's look at, what really happened here. The villain in this sense, since the principal's necessarily supposed to be a villain in this situation, he is that, intellectual villain, that it sits behind the scenes and all that, and just watches everything, calculates, and gets everything done while not really having to be there on the front lines. He's that type of dude that makes everybody his pawns and forces them to move around the board while he just sits back and just, looks at everything. That's the type of, villain you could look as the principal in this episode. And when he's sitting there, just moving around everybody to where he wants, like Mina and Kaminari, he's moving around throughout the city or the little area to try to escape. Basically, he is directing them to where he wants them to go. And he's a very scary villain. That's kind of what he was trying to teach them, that sometimes when you're up against a villain, you won't always see them. There'll be that person, a man behind the curtain or whatever, that you will not see and you'll probably never see, that's controlling everything. You can really think about, All for One in this sense. When you think about the recent episode reveal of, All Might's greatest enemy, All for One, he was like a man behind the curtain and all that, just sitting in the background, scheming and stuff. So when you think about all these little details, that's kind of the type of villain that the principal is being in this episode. Now, besides, just the very shocking personality, some things are revealed about the character, which, once again, is very crucial, and it's something that's probably going to play a major role in the future of the series. Apparently, from what we were told in this episode, if you look at the summary, the principal was an animal that was experimented on, and was actually given a quirk, had a quirk and all that, was experimented on at a young age, and then led to what he is today, why he has like a certain personality. And so the reason why he got so into his role of acting like a villain was because of everybody that used to probably torment him when he was really young, when everybody became aware that he was able to talk or whatever, and he had this type of quirk that he was experimented on. So it would explain why his personality is quite like it is. And when he's just getting all giddy and all that, it's kind of like he's like, oh yeah, you always want to put me in a cage or whatever, going down like, I guess these rat tunnels. Now look at this, look at me now, look what I'm doing, I'm directing you guys where I want. So it's pretty funny when you think about it like that, just how the principal was very, very, very smart, was able to kind of lead Mina and Kaminari to where he wanted. It just shows what type of person he is, but also what he's been through and how smart he is. So that was some really nice little details. But anyways, let's get into how they failed in the first place. So you have it to where Mina and Kaminari, their greatest weakness in this moment was their overconfidence. That's what it really led down to. What it led down to is that they thought the principal would not be like that. And they underestimated the principal, they looked down upon him, and they thought everything would be pretty easy. That's what they thought overall, because of how their quirk is. That's just how it starts off. When Kaminari and Mina are chatting, they think everything's going to be super easy, which is a critical mistake, because no matter what it is, even if you know for a fact the villain is very weak, it does not matter. You need to always be on your guard for the unexpected, and they were not prepared, and yeah, they got wrecked for it in this episode. So it shows that, once again, you cannot go in being overconfident as well as a hero. You need to always understand that even if you know that the person you're about to fight is nowhere near as strong as you, you may have the advantage on them. You need to always not drop your guard, because they can do something that you never would expect. And that's what the lesson was that they were trying to learn in this episode. Now, moving on, let's move over to Koda and Jiro. So Koda and Jiro scene, very, very good stuff. Now, personally, I really, really love Jiro. I've said this many times. It's sad that she does not have many scenes for herself. She gets to shine every so often, but most of the time, she's not really in the focus or spotlight of the series, which makes me very sad. I really do hope one of these days, Horikoshi really gives us a good segment with Jiro, and we get to have a lot of focus on her, but for now, I'll deal with what I get. So Jiro in this episode was a plus for me. I was really happy to see her in this episode. I was really happy to see how she was working with Koda, and just see how she was able to learn from her previous experiences when she was going out and training with other heroes. But you can see how she actually initiates and does stuff like that. Like, for instance, when she's telling Koda, hey, Koda, can you actually control bugs? I know your quirk is able to control animals, but are you able to control bugs? And eventually, one thing leads to another, he basically states, yes, I can control bugs, which is really, really good. And what you can get from this entire situation with Koda and Jiro, it was very similar to what Tsuyu was doing. Tsuyu was someone that was being like that support character for, Tokoyami. That's kind of what Jiro was doing. Jiro was kind of being like that support for Koda, giving him confidence where he could do what he needs to do, because his quirk is extremely powerful. I mean, if you really look at his quirk, okay, to control animals, to speak with them and all that, and speak with bugs, it's a very powerful quirk. I mean, in essence, when you think about it, maybe it's not as flashy as something like All Might, being able to just go crazy fast or, hit people real hard. It may not be as flashy, but it doesn't need to be. It still doesn't matter, because Koda's quirk is really strong. I mean, if you're able to communicate with animals, talk with them, make them do what you want, and then bugs as well, you can do so many things. And when you think about bugs, if you can control bugs, just imagine this, okay? There is so many bugs. Like, there's more bugs in this world than us as humans. There's just a crazy amount of bugs in colonies. Like, an ant colony alone is crazy. So when you factor all of these numbers together, going after one individual, it would add up, especially if they don't see it coming. I mean, if you could get, like, some form of poisonous insects or whatever going in there, you can imagine what type of devastation you can do with a quirk like this. So Koda is not someone to kind of look to the side and say, oh, he's very weak. He's very cool, and he has a lot to go on, but he just does not have the confidence to get stuff done, which is why Jiro is such a big help. She was able to be that support to help him out, give him confidence, and make him happy. I mean, she was taking a lot of the heavy hits throughout this episode. She was, taking the full force from, Jack and all that as he was using his quirk. She was, completely soaking up all that sound, trying to cancel him out, while Koda was able to do his thing. So there was just showing a nice, good role here of how she was playing a good support for him, and he realized that she was taking a lot of damage, and he had to do something, so he built up the courage to be able to do something in this episode. So quality right there. I just love that scene, and it shows how, Koda could be very powerful in the future. Now, let's talk about the situation with Mineta and Zero. So, Mineta, I think once again, I want to state that nobody really seems to like Mineta, which is understandable because the type of personality he has. He's that typical perverted character in an anime or manga. And I could see why many might not like his character because how he is. And I could see why many would think, like, this is supposed to be, like, a school for heroes and stuff. He doesn't seem to be very heroic because of how he acts. And I could see why many would say that. However, even despite his personality, I feel like he's a really fun character, and his quirk is criminally underrated. His quirk is extremely powerful in the right hands. You just need to have a sharp mind to be able to use it. I mean, we have already seen examples of this, even in this episode, that his quirk is insanely powerful if he uses it right. And so, because of that, we get to see how Mineta is able to overcome Midnight. Now, at first glance in this episode, many probably were going to think that Mineta was going to lose. I mean, Zero was taken out, like, instantly. But Mineta won it. He managed to actually win against Midnight. Now, I want to point out something, okay? Mineta got into UA thanks to doing the test. He did the, the major test at the beginning of the series. When Season 1 first started and all that, and Izuku had to take out the robots, Mineta had to do that as well. It makes you wonder, how did he take out the robots? We never really got to see that, but it really makes you wonder how he took out the robots. And so, we know his quirk is very strong, and we know he is very smart. Look at the recent episodes. He was at the top of the class, which many anime onlys, and when I read it in the manga, we were all shocked. We were like, this character, like, for him to be that smart and all that, but also act like this, oh my, it's really deceiving. And you can see that he has a very sharp mind. Even though it appears like he doesn't, and he seems to joke around and all that, he clearly is a very intelligent individual. I mean, he managed to lead Midnight into a trap and win against her. Now, granted, Midnight, overall, she's deadly to fight, especially if you're a guy, and could easily just wipe you out if she was probably being 100% serious. But even still, though, the way Mineta was able to lead her into that false sense of security because of his personality, that was really scary. Because, let's look at the situation. Mineta ran away from Midnight. Tears and all that, scared, and he knew how Midnight would react. For instance, she would have this, like, sadistic side pop out, and she would chase after Mineta, and then that basically is how he could corner her. And he knew this. He knew all about this. He planned all of this. He put on that act. He put on that mask to be able to lead her into thinking that he couldn't do nothing against her, but then he won. But it's also his personality as well, because remember, all the teachers, they've probably been analyzing all the students, and they know how they act, and so they know how Mineta is. They know that he's someone that's very perverted. So someone like Midnight, obviously that would be a great weakness, but it appears not to be the case. He actually won against Midnight like it was really nothing at all. I mean, when you really look at the episode and the challenge, Mineta had it easiest out of every single person in this episode. I mean, look, everybody else was really struggling. I mean, Ochiko, she only won because the hero had to shut off, the quirk because it's very deadly, and that's why. So, Ochiko was struggling. We have the situation with, Mina and Kaminari, they were struggling, they lost. And then you have Koda and Jiro, they were struggling a lot. Mineta barely even struggled. He already had everything planned and just led her to a certain location, and then won. So he's scary. He's really scary. So, we cannot underestimate, Mineta's ability to win against his opponents. And his quirk, like I said, it seems very simple, but it's really scary powerful. It's a scary powerful quirk. So, yeah, just once again to show that Mineta is not someone that we can look down upon and think he is relatively weak. He needs a little bit of confidence, but overall, he does seem like he has a sharp mind to get things done if he wants to get things done. So that's about it. And then we have, the lead up to the final part of the episode with All Might, Bakugo, and Izuku. I'm really excited to see how that's going to be handled in the anime. And so tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Anime onlys, how do you feel next week's episode is going to be? How do you feel about this episode? How do you feel about, our individual characters and the spotlight they got throughout this episode? Please be honest in the comments below. And also, before I end this video, thank you so much for all of you that have watched this video, that are leaving a like, that have left a comment, or commenting on social media, or support me on Patreon. I'm really, really happy to, just see that. It makes me happy just to know all of you guys are looking out for me. So, thank you once again. You all have a wonderful day or night. And before I end this video completely, though, I just want to state something that all the other videos for today, like for instance Recreators and Dragon Ball, might be a little bit late today, and the reason for it is because I want to be going over and helping my dad dig up like some part of the ground to put in some new pipe and all that for like a septic tank. So I'll probably have a lot of videos delayed today. I just want to say I hope that I could get this video out before then. If not, I'll probably just cut this part out. I don't know. But if for some reason I can get this out before then, I just want to let you know, if you're looking forward to Recreators being very early as well today, or Dragon Ball, it's probably not going to happen, depending on the time and how I get back, or how long it's going to take. And it can be an all-day thing. It could literally be like a 10-hour job. So I don't really know how it's going to go, but I just want to quickly clarify this real quick. So anyways, you all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.